And good afternoon, Chosen Ones YouTube fam. Welcome to the Kimberly Ponce channel, where we talk about awesome things all the time. And today it is Friday. Aren't you glad we made it? Aren't you glad we made it? I sure am. I sure am glad that we made it. It was one hell of a week. One heck of a week, if I may say so. But it's going to be beautiful. Look how gorgeous it is, you guys. Look at beautifulness, blue skies, feeling the vibes. Oh, yeah. So we're going to finish this week off with determining more ways of how evil is implemented and operated in modern day society. Yeah. So quick recap of yesterday. Basically went over how there's engineered ways of making the people that are oppressed in any past dictatorship, and I'm not saying that so far the U.S. government, I'm not saying current day it's a dictatorship, I'm saying maybe we should pay more attention to the current trends and patterns of behavior, and study patterns and current trends, and study past trends of behavior from government when it became a dictatorship. And so basically there's engineered feelings of shame and guilt based off of fear, and there's some, that was essentially what we talked about yesterday as a recap, is the number one political mechanism that makes a dictatorship so successful, as we see in history, is making the people move based off of fear. So I mean, it's like certainly scary to like turn on the news and see like 4 different angles of a shot being injected, and making guidelines that are like creating an ultimatum for whether or not you have the same income. In order to get the shot, in order to keep your job, you have to take this shot. That would be a political incentive given by the government to the people, that is provoking fear deliberately from citizens. And again, it's not about autonomy. It's not about the individual expressing themselves. What we're seeing more so every day, and as each day goes by, is more of a attempt to honestly it feels like sometimes the government is hurting cats when we see experiments like COVID and stay home, save lives in the pandemic. It seems like and that leads me to the first point, and what will be the first question for today's video, is that it's being drawn as an experiment. So okay, the first question for today's vid, I hope you've had a wonderful day and a really awesome week. Thanks for being here. The first question for today's video is, what makes something an experiment? In application to what we're discussing, modern day society and patterns and trends of control, and wanting to seemingly look like a dictatorship with different ways of incentivizing fear amongst people. What is something that absolutely somebody needs is like their income. So saying you have to get this shot or else you're gonna not be able to be a assistant pharmacist anymore at Walgreens, for example. It also was a classic way of dividing the people by saying essential workers, okay, yeah, y'all can continue to go to work, everyone else you need to stay at home, but the essential workers, what effect does that have on society, whether we realize it right away or not? That is creating a division and we see that perpetuated throughout more and more time, where it's like a divisive political kind of like executive order, so to speak, and it's creating a psychological impact on citizens down the road, whether or not it's immediate, but I'm essential versus I'm not essential. So that's already creating division, and that's what is a classic example of what those in power who want to stay in power will do in order to keep the people fighting. With that note, too, specifically in the same vein, we were discussing yesterday how there seems to be a trend on YouTube where there's like a partner or best friends or like a family member with another family member, but it's like doing this kind of like outrageously, like maliciously, kind of like willfully provoking behavior just to get a reaction, just to see their reaction, just to see his reaction, or just to see her reaction. And so that's kind of another classic way that's subconsciously perpetuating amongst the people to keep us fighting. If you think about it, like, is that conducive to social harmony in a household? If you like crack somebody's like crack an egg on somebody like in your household on their forehead, I don't really believe that the prank culture is I don't think it's I don't believe that it's conducive to social harmony. I mean, there might be some that are fun, that are easygoing, but that's not the point. I'm not trying to split hairs on how some of them can be cute and are good for views and entertainment is entertainment, but I'm just begging the question that we could see here for a second. Just notice and pay attention with me. Why is it such a trend just to see somebody's reaction? Are we becoming incentivized to normal small talk? Does that mean we're becoming desensitized to run-of-the-mill content as what it could be, which is, a vlog or somebody's cleaning or get ready with me vlog? Is that too boring? What is this subconsciously feeding us? Like, instead of having this attention span for a beautiful 4-hour movie with an intermission in between, or what people used to do back in the 20s, like dress up and wear a hat and a cane, and the women would wear like gloves and heels and perfume and pearls and go out and be entertained by live theater. I wish I lived back then. I feel like if I could live in another timeline, that would be when I would choose 1920s and the roaring 20s, and like probably be like a dancer, flapper girl. But anyway, yeah, totally. That distracted me. Like my brain, and it's hot today, and like I've been like trying to get rid of a headache literally as soon as I woke it up today at I don't know, I can't remember when I woke up. I know I slept in a little bit, but I couldn't get rid of this headache I've had like all day, so forgive me, I lost the train of thought, but we'll get back on board. So what makes something an experiment? When we look at society, what makes something an experiment? Well, I have thought of two guidelines, two elements, if you will, that can determine, okay, this is an experiment. The first one is a timeline of reasonable duress, and the second is tangible consequences. It says the propaganda teaches that constant tests are for one citizen's safety. Yeah, so it's back to like that. It's back to that theme where it's sold and illustrated to citizens and to peeps in society that it is for our safety. Stay home, save lives. It's for everyone's safety. Wear a mask. Stay safe. Stay connected. We also wanted to point out that something I didn't share yesterday is that I also kind of have this theory that like there's symbology in what we're being told and offered and advertised, and that's essentially like the axiom that propaganda operates under. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like symbolic that we wear like the masks, and then all of a sudden like we're isolated, and everyone like there's like a massive increase in suicide, depression, anxiety, and agoraphobia. And isn't it a little strange that the mask quite literally muted us? I'm just saying, like, look at how it looks when we go out. It's like normalizing isolation by staying, like, even when you go out into public, it's like stay 6 feet away. And instead of like a handshake, now it's like elbow or whatever other bullshit. So it's slowly, I believe, like, my like low-key theory is that like we're slowly becoming programmed and conditioned to be like hybrid robot / human, like eventually, like over timeline, over like things are moving pretty fast, so we don't know exactly how fast that like could be, but I do believe, like, my low-key theory is that we're slowly becoming more and more normalized for isolation, and to keep the mask on and be muted and stay 6 feet away, and like we're like losing the feeling of like physical touch, like, or meeting somebody, like slowly losing those sensory nuances in society. I believe is going to harm us in the long run, and it already has. You can see the effects of kids that were taught during COVID in schools where they had to wear masks like 6 feet away, and that's not how humans were meant to be social. And so this would be an example of a timeline of reasonable duress that categorizes COVID and the pandemic as an experiment on modern day society. The second guideline that I do believe that it also, the pandemic and the outcome, it categorizes as well, for the second factor, which is tangible consequences. So I believe kindness is I would say that a tangible consequence of pandemic and COVID would be, I feel like basic kindness and basic polite manners seem to be completely eviscerated into thin air after the pandemic, and I feel like trust has become like few and far between since COVID and pandemic too, because it changed so many systems. And say, their example, there's food shortages, a lack of supply and logistics, preparation. So a lot of businesses and wholesale, individuals or parties suffered because there was a influx of need and demand that was so overwhelming to meet that it wasn't being met, and then that caused a decrease in sales for, say, the small business that was relying on the wholesale for that next shipment, but there wasn't enough XYZ. Therefore, small business suffered and got the short end of the stick. Like there's definite tangible consequences from the pandemic. That's just one example. I wanted to bring up a specific recent case about how, and it's a great illustration of how technology is surpassing legal standards, and technology is surpassing legal precedents at a rate that is, obviously alarming. But for example, back to like my theory about how I think we're being slowly conditioned and programmed to become like hybrid robot, hybrid humans, is, for example, there's celebrities' rights that are their rights to publicity are being completely violated. For example, Scarlett Johansson was offered a deal with a specific party that asked to use her voice, and she declined the offer. It was in writing. And then she heard the advertisements later on, and it was another actress's voice, but it sounded, in Scarlett Johansson's exact words, eerily alike hers. It sounded eerily a lot like her own voice. And so it said that Scarlett Johansson was like infuriated and angered because she declined the offer. And so why does this character's voice in this, like, I think it was a commercial deal or some type of portrayal of a voiceover, but it wasn't Scarlett Johansson speaking anything because she declined the offer, but the end product of the end product sounded a lot like Scarlett Johansson's voice. Anywho, so that was problematic because if she, that is problematic because one, that sets a precedence for other celebrities' rights to publicities to be violated. And Scarlett Johansson brought it up, but because technically they didn't take it from a recording of her own voice. It's just an actress who sounds a lot like her. That their work of copyright is it's like green. It's cleared because it's protected, I guess, by the Fair Act, something like that. Safety Fair Act, something like that. So it was kind of like gray area legally. So that's what I'm saying. This is problematic. That every person, individual has their rights to their own publicity, and that would be like if a company asked to use your eyes or from your nose up to your forehead in a commercial, and you decline the offer because you didn't agree with the ethical. This is just an example. The ethical and moral standards of how the company runs their business, then and then you go about your day and you end up seeing a picture of like from your nose up to your forehead on a billboard, and then you could sue that company and say, you violated my rights of publicity. I'm suing on the grounds that you violated my rights of publicity because I declined the offer, and that is my livelihood, and this is my own individual facing and immutable characteristics. And so like that's something that they can't take without your complete consent, and you're in have to accept the offer. So that just be an example, but this is how we're already seeing AI. It was an AI voice. That's what it was. It was an AI voice. It sounded a lot like Scarlett Johansson, but it wasn't Scarlett Johansson's voice. And so that's what's so problematic, is that it literally sounds a lot like her. So that's like potentially earning money off of somebody's voice and the hard work that Scarlett Johansson's done up until this point in her career. That somebody could take it and others confuse it for the identity of Scarlett Johansson, and that could be lucrative for them in a false and unethical way. So that's like just an example of how, AI and technology is already outpacing legal expectations and legal precedents and legal rulings. And that's kind of scary. So you guys, that's the vid. Perfect. Like, we're right at 20 basically. So awesome. I hope you guys have like a seriously awesome weekend. Thanks for tuning in with me this week about how I'm just asking some questions about trends and behaviors of how society seems to be functioning and questioning things and being skeptical, but also begging to differ and like being intrigued by different concepts. Like, it's just good to be inquisitive and to remain inquisitive and curious. It seems like an intelligent move to always be questioning. So, you guys, I appreciate this. Without further ado, have an amazing weekend. Get some rest, hydrate, do what you need to do to feel like your best self. And I'll see you back again on Monday for more awesome content on the Kimberly Ponce channel. You know what comes next. Stay safe. Stay blessed. Stay chosen. Peace.